T.I.'s son, King Harris, has been arrested after not appearing in court and some other things connected to his actions.
We've never seen a celebrity scandal spiral this violently, not even with the Harris family's long track record of chaos. Tonight, all eyes are locked on King Harris, who's now fighting for his life in intensive care after what insiders are calling a ruthless, cold-blooded attack inside a Georgia prison. The reports leaking from behind bars sound like something straight out of a gangster movie. Witnesses say King was beaten so badly he barely held on to consciousness before being rushed under heavy guard to the prison infirmary. The whole block reportedly erupted into pure madness, with officers struggling to control a full-scale riot. Meanwhile, the Harris household is in shambles, scrambling for answers and terrified about what could happen next. And don't get it twisted, this wasn't no random fight or some initiation gone wrong. Word inside is that this was a planned ambush, a brutal setup. Inmates allegedly cornered King with the intent to humiliate and destroy him. Some are even calling it a warning shot, proof that fame can't buy safety once you're locked in with the wolves. As soon as the story broke, the internet lost its mind. Timelines lit up with theories, live play-by-play commentary, and non-stop speculation. Conspiracy chatter went wild, with whispers tying the attack to King's existing beefs on the inside. One insider close to the Harris circle even claimed that King had been targeted for embarrassment weeks ago. Another insider with ties to the prison staff swears King was already a marked man behind those walls. Word is, inmates despised him, not just for the Harris family name, but for the way he carried himself, talking like he owned the yard and flexing as if status on the outside meant power on the inside. People inside claim he'd been warned to chill out, told straight up to watch your back because he was seen as too flashy, too cocky, and way too soft for this brutal world. But those warnings turned real fast. The Harris family is now in full-blown emergency mode. We're hearing T.I. hasn't slept since the attack.
Trying to coddle him for? Let the man walk out, have some time to himself, sit down, soak it up, and come up with what he need to do.
He's pacing floors, burning up phone lines, making desperate calls to attorneys, politicians, even old industry connects, anyone who might have a threat of influence inside the Georgia Department of Corrections. According to one Atlanta source, T.I. is so desperate he's already promising checks, favors, and even signing hush-hush NDAs just to pull King out before something even worse happens. And here's the wild part. It's hard to picture the self-proclaimed King of the South brought down like this, but that's exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, Tiny is running her own war room, locked in with publicists and legal teams trying to control the narrative while keeping the family's name out of total ruin. Behind closed doors, though, that picture-perfect unity is cracking bad. Sources whisper that arguments between T.I. and Tiny have gotten explosive. Screaming matches, slammed doors, raw emotions spilling over. Things just got way messier. The whispers inside and outside the prison are growing louder by the day. Word on the street is that this wasn't just about a slick comment or some petty disrespect. People are buzzing about a failed contraband deal gone bad. Some insiders claim King straight up refused to fall in line, while others say he tried to outsmart the wrong crew. And that bold move may have cost him everything. So the big question is, was this just a small beef that spiraled out of control, or was King Harris purposely marked for a takedown by people who felt double-crossed? Investigators close to the case say there's chatter about a setup, King being lured into a certain part of the prison, ambushed by at least 3 inmates. And here's the shady part. Security cameras in that block conveniently went down right as it all went down. The Department of Corrections is denying any kind of glitch, but one of T.I.'s old road managers dropped a chilling line. It's Georgia. Cameras break when they need to break. That's all you need to know. That statement alone has people convinced this wasn't random.
So him being arrested isn't really like the shocker. It's him coming out and his, I guess, reaction to it, right? Because everybody's saying, King, you grew up privileged, bro. Why are you going down this path? Now he's talking about F the police, F12, so, you know,
It was calculated and maybe even protected from the inside. And while King's condition is still unstable, the pressure on the Harris family is boiling over in real time. Social media is watching every move, and cracks are showing. Fans are saying they've seen the family close ranks before, but never under fire like this. And people can't forget that viral Falcons game moment, when T.I. put his own son in a headlock live on Instagram after a heated blow-up about King's reckless behavior. In front of thousands, T.I. snapped, "You are embarrassing yourself and your family!" Security rushed in, Tiny tried to calm the storm, but the damage was already done. Back then, people thought that was rock bottom, but clearly, things have sunk even lower. With King laid up in a hospital bed and the family's dirty laundry blowing all over the internet, that Falcons game fight is starting to look like nothing more than a warm-up for an even uglier showdown. Inside those prison walls, King's world was never safe, but lately, it's turned flat-out toxic. Multiple sources claim inmates taunted him nonstop, throwing his parents' scandals in his face, including, yes, the ugly shadow of those human trafficking allegations that T.I. and Tiny can't seem to escape, and now King gets dragged into the mess too. To make things worse, King reportedly poured gas on the fire himself, allegedly flexing for social media, calling out rivals, and trying to push this image of being Atlanta's next big thing. But the older, hardened inmates weren't impressed one bit. One former prisoner told us bluntly, "We're not here for the reality show. We don't care who your daddy is. If you don't pay what you owe or you run your mouth, you get handled." That's the brutal law inside. And now King is paying the price for it.
I graduated. That's the only good thing they posted of me going viral. I'm not on the media's good side. I don't know why, but I ain't.
On the outside, T.I. is scrambling and burning through every option he has left. Word is he's even threatening to blast the Georgia prison system publicly, planning to air out ugly details about conditions inside. At the same time, his team is allegedly working the media behind the scenes, quietly shopping stories to sympathetic outlets, trying to spin the narrative back in King's favor before the damage is permanent. Shifting blame away from King and pinning it all on a corrupt system. It's the oldest move in the celebrity crisis playbook. But the real question is, has the clock already run out on saving him? That's what's keeping everyone on edge, because beneath the frantic spin and damage control, one brutal truth lingers. What if this is what happens when you raise a son to think he's untouchable, only for reality to hit back harder than ever? Adding even more gasoline to this fire are whispers from not one, not two, but three separate industry veterans.
Steve Sadar reached out to me looking to make a deal on behalf of T.I. and Tiny. And I told Steve Sadar that my clients want justice. So if the deal involves Tiny and T.I. turning themselves in and admitting to the crime that they've committed, then fine, we got a deal. But if it does not, then I would prefer to have the investigators do their work and to bring criminal charges against Tiny and T.I.
They claim the Harris family's messy legal history has made King an even bigger target on the inside. It's no secret his name has been dragged through the mud in connection with those ongoing trafficking allegations circling T.I. and Tiny. And accusers have hinted at a wider web of bad behavior, with King's name tangled up in the gossip too. Sabrina Peterson, the ex-friend who lit the original fire, went on record threatening to drop so-called receipts that could allegedly drag not just T.I. and Tiny, but King himself into deeper legal quicksand.
I wouldn't have been able to do that if it wasn't for Family Hustle. Right. Now, it does come with some, it's some adversity. It's some adversity to come with that. People get in your bed.
Yeah. The feds might not have filed charges, but in the public's eye, once your name's in the mix, that stain sticks forever. And while the legal team works overtime to stomp out one scandal, another one pops right back up. Rumors are swirling about a secret deal gone sour, a contraband ledger with King's name scribbled on it, whispers of a broken promise, and prison chatter accusing him of either snitching or backing out of a payment. In a place where reputation means survival, even the slightest whiff of betrayal can get you marked. And King might be learning that lesson in the most brutal way possible. Call it rumor, call it the real deal. But inside those walls, the code is brutal. The price for crossing the wrong person is always paid in blood. Mix that with King's privileged upbringing, his flashy reality TV past, and the Harris family's never-ending streak of controversy, and it's no shock he became the lightning rod for every grudge and vendetta simmering in that block. And while King lies stuck between life and death, T.I. and Tiny's relationship is teetering on the edge of collapse. Behind closed doors, insiders say their fights have turned volcanic. Tiny allegedly pushing for a gentler, more forgiving approach, blaming the prison system and outside influences for King's downfall. Meanwhile, T.I. is doubling down on force, furious, combative, convinced that only his money, muscle, and high-powered connections can drag their son out alive. One source close to the couple didn't sugarcoat it. They said, "This is the worst storm T.I. and Tiny have ever faced as a unit, worse than their reality TV empire crashing down, worse than the messy LA lawsuits, worse even than the viral humiliation of the headlock fiasco that had the world laughing and cringing all at once. The emotional toll is explosive. Both of them lashing out, with the rest of the Harris clan trapped in the blast zone like collateral damage. And if we zoom out, the stakes have never been higher. King, the once pampered wild card of the Harris dynasty, now finds himself staring down a harsh new reality.
And you can, you know what I'm saying, kind of woo-saw yourself outside of the public opinion.
And the deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. Some of the most shocking details of this attack still haven't seen the light of day. What really happens to a big name trapped inside the concrete jungle? That truth is still lurking in the shadows, waiting to explode. Right now, we're watching in slow motion as the brutal reality of prison life tears through the polished image of celebrity privilege. All the money, all the industry connections, all the famous last names, none of that means a thing once those bars slam shut. Behind those walls, it's a whole different code, one that doesn't bend for fame or fortune. And King Harris, just like countless others before him, is finding out the hard way. Inside, the rules aren't written in ink. They're written in blood, enforced without hesitation. Respect behind bars isn't something you can buy with autographs or family clout. It's something earned through loyalty, through grit, through survival. Yesterday's chart numbers and viral headlines don't carry weight in a world where every move can make or break you. And that's the haunting truth. High-profile inmates don't get extra protection. They often become bigger targets. The question gnawing at everyone now is simple. Did King's fame, his status as the Harris heir, actually seal his downfall? Insiders close to the chaos are saying this was never just about King as a person. It was about everything he represented the moment he stepped behind those walls.
I really admire his dedication and commitment to the craft, because, you know, I kind of told him, you know, what was wrong about it.
He carried in the Harris name, the reality TV legacy, the notoriety, and the label of being TY's wildest son. For men doing hard time, that's not just a backstory, that's a lightning rod for jealousy, resentment, and score settling. Several correctional officers have quietly told reporters that high-profile inmates like King often get turned into bargaining chips in power struggles between rival factions. One source who once served time in the very same Georgia system laid it out plainly. He became a pawn in someone else's game. For the power players inside, King wasn't just another inmate, he was an opportunity, a symbol, a message to be sent loud and clear to the world and to everyone locked up with him. And then you pile on the extra weight, rumors of a botched contraband deal, whispers of betrayal, and the never-ending swirl of Harris family scandals, and from day one, King was swimming with sharks. But it's not just the fists and the ambushes, it's the psychological warfare too. In prison, every word, every side-eye, every rumor can feel like a loaded weapon. Reports say King's privileged upbringing painted a target on him before he ever even touched a cell door. Some inmates hated him instantly, convinced he'd lived too easy. Private schools, music videos, access to lawyers, most of them could only dream about. Others rolled their eyes at his attempts to talk tough, play gangster, and stand on business, when everybody knew he'd spent more time on reality TV than surviving on the corners. That tension isn't new. It's part of a brutal cycle we've seen play out with high-profile prisoners again and again. Call it institutional hazing, call it prison politics. Either way, fame becomes gasoline for retribution. We've heard it before from sources tied to rappers, athletes, even Hollywood names who found themselves behind bars. Step in with a silver spoon, and that spoon turns into a target the moment the gates lock. And that's where King's story takes a darker twist. Because he wasn't just born into privilege, he spent years trying to outrun it. Determined to prove he was more than a pampered son, he worked overtime to build a tougher persona, one that looked separate from the gated community life he grew up in. But the cruel irony? That very performance might have been what sealed his fate. In interviews, King has always rejected the idea that he was raised cushioned by wealth. He insisted he grew up hustling, struggling, learning street codes the hard way. Over and over, on live streams and in his music, he declared, "I stand on business." But anyone who knows the streets knows the truth. Credibility doesn't come from catchphrases or family clout. It's earned in blood, sweat, and scars. And when you try too hard to claim it, you often pay the highest price. The result has been nothing short of a brutal collision between expectation and cold reality. In the months leading up to his incarceration, King was spiraling. Friends say he bounced between loud, high-profile outbursts and moments of raw vulnerability, like a young man constantly living on edge, acting as if every single day was a test he couldn't afford to fail. Everyone remembers that viral Falcons game clip, when T.I. threw his son in a headlock mid-argument over the infamous silver spoon line. At the time, it looked like just another family meltdown for the cameras, but in hindsight, it feels more like a warning shot. King wanted desperately to cut ties with the comfort of his upbringing, to prove he wasn't some pampered rich kid, but his father and mother kept pulling him back into the spotlight, even when it blew up in his face. So King styled himself as the wild card, dropping cryptic photos, taunting critics, flexing with that "still got my chain" bravado. But insiders whisper that behind the curtain, he was restless, angry, and maybe, just maybe, in way over his head. That double life didn't just confuse fans, it made him irresistible bait for anyone on the inside looking to score points by taking him down. And when the prison ambush finally went down, the ripple effect was massive, bigger than just the Harris family. Correctional officers, lawyers, even rival inmates started weighing in. Was this just a sudden eruption of prison violence, or was King Harris the latest example of a bigger, scarier trend? Celebrity inmates being silenced, humbled, or used as pawns in a system that thrives on breaking names that shine too bright. Word is, prison administrators are now scrambling behind the scenes, trying to reassign King to a safer spot, not just to protect him, but to stop other inmates from cashing in on his notoriety like it's currency. Meanwhile, outside those walls, the Harris family is locked in the spotlight, with every single move broadcast, dissected, and judged by an unforgiving public. T.I. is waging a desperate, all-out push for his son's early release, burning every contact, pulling every string, and throwing his weight wherever he can. But while supporters flood the comment sections with prayers and pleas for compassion, critics are just as loud, calling out the irony of it all. A young man born into luxury now paying the ultimate price for trying to rock a mask that never really fit. And that's where this story twists into something bigger, a parable, a cautionary tale written in real time. With every new headline, the lines blur even more. Was King shoved into this life by the crushing weight of a legacy he could never escape? Or did he charge headfirst into the storm, convinced that his fame would protect him from the consequences waiting around every corner? For T.I. and Tiny, this nightmare is threatening to swallow more than just their public image. It's tearing at the very core of their family. Behind the scenes, lawyers are scrambling, working overtime to spin the story and contain the fallout. But inside the Harris circle, there's division. Some relatives are urging caution, terrified that making more noise could put King in even greater danger. Others are pushing hard for action, arguing that silence is nothing but surrender. And through it all, the rest of the Harris kids are stuck walking through a minefield. They're being dragged into speculation they never asked for, everything from ugly paternity rumors to old family disputes being dug back up just to feed the frenzy. The line between private heartbreak and public scandal is getting thinner by the hour, and every new leak, from a prison guard looking for a payday to a so-called friend of the family chasing clout, only throws more gasoline on the blaze. But step back and the bigger picture is even darker. King's ordeal is exposing how the justice system devours anyone who can't play by its ruthless politics. Famous or not, rich or broke, the only real currency inside is power, and without it, you're just prey. What started as a fight over respect has spiraled into an all-out war for survival, not just for King, but for the entire Harris legacy. And while T.I. works every angle he can, trying to outmaneuver a system that's already chewed up so many lives, the ripple effects of this prison ambush are far from over. So here's the chilling question. Are we looking at just the beginning of an even darker chapter for the Harris dynasty? Could this brutal prison attack crack open secrets, rivalries, and scandals so deep that no amount of spin or damage control could ever contain them? That's the shadow hanging over this family right now, and it's only getting heavier with each leak, each rumor, each headline. Now it's your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think King Harris is just another casualty of growing up under the crushing weight of family fame? Or is there something way deeper fueling this chaos, something that hasn't even surfaced yet? And don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video so more people can join the conversation. Because with the Harris family, drama is never far away. Stay sharp, stay curious, and until the next drop, keep your eyes wide open, because you never know whose story is about to take the wildest turn yet.